Well, during the pregame, we talked about how Zion Williamson continues to just find ways to get in his own way. And the same can be said for the Philadelphia 76ers tonight as they fall 123-115 to the previously 7-win New Orleans Pelicans. Now 8 wins on 8-31, with the 76ers dropped to 15-21 after this loss to CJ McCollum and company. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Postgame show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Rich Hoffman, Devon Givens, Brianna producing, all of you hanging out with us on a frustrating Friday after this loss. And we'll get to Kyle and Derek a little bit later. We'll tell you our player of the game. We have to give you one, and many more things as we go along. And this one reacting to another, as we have there on the thumbnail, just a maddening evening. We'll get to Rich's 3 takeaways here in just a second. But just a brief overall feeling, Rich, walking away from the television 5 minutes ago, this game ends, and they did it again, where you can sit there and just shake your head. We get texts, we get tweets, we get messages, and people are ticked off, as you can see in our conversation with the community.
It's going to be event session tonight for everybody, Devon.
Yep.
That was, you said maddening. I'm going to go with depressing as well. I mean, I think it can be both of those things at the same time. Look, I mean, that team that they played tonight has lost 13 of their last 15 games before tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Their only 2 wins were against the Washington Wizards. And I just, leaving that game, I just feel like the Sixers are really lucky that they play in a city where people care. They're lucky that anybody cares right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just complete slop, man. That's one of the more embarrassing results we've seen all season. And Devon, honestly, before I get into everything else, the scary thing was Tyrese Maxey did a lot of good things tonight, and Paul George took until the second half to do some good things. The defense was just so horrendous. And I mean, the Pelicans were missing like 8 guys tonight. They were missing some awesome players, and the Sixers had their second and third best players who played okay, and they still got killed. Ever since the Sixers have been decent, since like 2017, every NBA team has their bad games, but that's about as close to rock bottom as it gets. And the difference between the sleepwalking teams that I have seen of past years and this year's team, especially when Joel Embiid doesn't play, is that those teams had more talent and they could sleepwalk their ways. They could sleepwalk to wins, or they could sleepwalk to close losses. When you see a team that has struggled all season to score play defense that poorly, that is the result you get. They got destroyed tonight, man. I mean, I'm looking at my notes. Missed layups and turnovers that led to points the entire night on transition defense. Some of the worst transition defense I've seen. Offensive rebounds, I think the Pelicans rebounded like 35% of their misses. Mm-hmm. Sixers went super small at the end. Yabusele did not play all that well. And just some absolutely horrendous individual defense from pretty much everyone not named Caleb Martin. I'm not saying Caleb Martin's a perfect player, but I thought when he guarded CJ, he was better than everybody else. And there was a possession that really summed up the night, man. It's in the second half. They're down, I think, about 8 or so. PG's starting to cook a little bit. They're starting to score. They go to the small ball lineup, and they don't get matched up correctly. And Jose Alvarado walks into a wide open 3. Wide open. What is going on? And every mistake that the Sixers made tonight, and there were a lot of really bad ones, the Pelicans completely punished them for it. There's another one late in the game. CJ McCollum, he misses both free throws. He gives the fans some free chicken.
Yeah.
I think they're down 8. They had been clawing back to get in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the offensive rebound.
Which bounced right to him, by the way.
Yeah. And then on the ensuing possession, he makes a 3. Man, just what a terrible week of basketball from the Sixers. I mean, you get smoked by a Phoenix team that was completely falling apart. You almost lose to the Wizards, who were like They were missing a bunch of their quote-unquote guys. They don't really have guys either, but whoever their guys are, they were missing them. You were down 3 with like 2 minutes left in that game. And then you get absolutely hammered. You get dummied by a Pelicans team that was missing a bunch of guys, including Zion Williamson, who was too late to show up to the plane. I don't know, man. I feel like we had a little bit of hope with this team from what we saw throughout December, right? They were clawing back from that 3-14 hole. This week just put me right back in mid-November. I just, what a disaster. Obviously, Joel Embiid was unavailable for all 3 of these games. And they really should have went 3-0 in this week. You looked at the schedule, you said, this is where you got to get right. Not only do they go 1-2, they go 1-2, and it feels bad. Even the win felt kind of bad. It's rough, man.
It is rough. For the first time this season, and we've had moments, again, when they started off the way that they did, with the record that they did, where tonight, while we've had some ticked off moments, they had the 9-3 month of December, which was really good. We looked at this opportunity here with these 3 games. You add to the Brooklyn piece of it, where they went on the back end of that road trip, going into Orlando, looking at them stumbling a little bit just because of all the injuries that they've had. And this week is really the first time where I would continue to say, hey, the East is the East. They'll figure something out and they'll get back into it. Wait till they get to 10 wins. I won't look at the standings and say anything here on the show, because let's wait to get to the 10 wins. I don't want to bore people with that and give them any falsehoods. But then you have the way that they played, and you look at it and you say, okay, this week will help, as you said, get them right. And why? Because they had some get-right games in front of them against get-right teams that we normally look at them and say, these are the get-right teams. Now the Sixers have become the get-right team, and we've seen it multiple times, too many times this season, where for the very first time, Rich and everybody out there, Bree, that this one I look at and I say, all right, this is probably now going to be too late. Too little, too late for whatever they do. Because with the stretch that they have upcoming, now you look at the Orlando piece on Sunday, and even though it was a winnable game, you'll still have maybe Maxey and George together, possibly Joel Embiid, I doubt it, and everyone else. But thinking that they're going to walk into Orlando with Paolo Banchero coming back now, he was supposed to play tonight. I haven't checked anything with their stats to see if he played and what he did.
I could do that.
But he's back. They're going to be feeling a little rejuvenated. It's on their home floor. And the 76ers, I have no reason to believe. I have no reason. And you asked me pregame.
He played tonight, and he played well. 34 points.
You asked me pregame, do I feel good about them winning? I said yes, like confidently.
I thought they were going to win.
Yes. I have no reason to believe that they're going to go into Orlando. Did they win?
No, close loss to Milwaukee.
Close loss to Milwaukee with Paolo just coming back.
Yeah.
There's no shot that they win unless Embiid plays and changes how, we look at it. But even with that, they're not good enough for me to think that they're going to go in there and win on Sunday. So for the first time this season, we are now at 15-21, so they are 36 games in. For the first time this season, where I look at it and I say, it's going to be a little too much to have to make up in the end for them to do anything. Many people outside of the show that may not be here today, that have been with us for the duration of the season, have felt like this has been over for a long time. Well, now I am finally there, where you sit there and you watch that.
There's a game that makes you feel that way, it would be this one.
It's this one. There've already been, and Kyle tweeted out his good, bad, and the ugly, and the caption basically that he had in the characters was, in the quote of, this is a new candidate for the worst loss of the season. We were going to give them the worst loss of the season on Wednesday when they almost lost to the Washington Wizards. They came back and won that when we complained about it. We also pointed out, hey, we asked them to get one by any means, just win by 1 point. They won by 6, and they had no business winning by 6 because of how the game played out. This team is not good enough. It's not well coached enough. Although all of it, of course, is not his fault because of what he's been handed. But he has to take some of the blame in how things are going, how things are playing out on the floor. He gets a tech late when he thinks it's a backcourt violation.
And it wasn't.
An 8-second count because of DeJounte Murray stepping over the line.
What were they on, a 9-0 run? And you got a tech?
It was 16 seconds. It was at 16 seconds, which you're allowed, by the way.
You're allowed, yeah.
You're allowed. It's 15 when they blow the whistle.
It was
he
not
gets
an
over
obvious
right
call.
at 16. You don't get the 15. He gets a tech. That's another point. And play after play after play. Batted basketballs back to get the extra possession. And even when you look at the game, you look at the box score, and you see that the Pelicans and the Sixers were maybe 1 or 2 offensive rebounds that separated them. But which ones had more of a positive impact when you watch that basketball game? The New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah.
I haven't checked the second chance points. So but you laid out the percentage of the offensive rebounds that they had on the missed shots.
They had a lot more.
And that is just, again, that lays out how this one played out, how it felt, the frustrations that you could see on the players where hands were going up and pointing, looking at others. Caleb Martin, you had veterans looking at Caleb Martin and Paul George saying, I thought you had that one. Confusion on switches, confusion on box outs to allow CJ McCollum to get, wow, it was a perfectly bounced the basketball off the rim right back to him. Someone is supposed to, the man on the third, the second Sixer, the third man on the block is supposed to, that's your man.
Yeah.
Or the man from behind the free throw line coming in to box out. That's communication. Hey, you got him. I got that. I'm going in to help out there to squeeze that man. You get that one right there on the free throw line. It came right back to him. And as Elaine Bruno has there, that is 5 white flags that he's waving.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not 1.
5.
Not 2. 5.
This one has that feel of, okay, now I really understand what this is for this season for the 76ers.
And look, I think a lot of people who watch us on a consistent basis know that we're not going to be this emotional on most nights. But man,
No.
if there was a game that you got to let some frustration out, it was that one. I mean, that was...
And deservedly so.
That was putrid. And, you know, Devon, honestly, I said this a little bit in my monologue when I was talking earlier. The defense was so unbelievably bad tonight. And Bree, you can put up my 3 things if you have them.
Let's please start there.
They're not as insightful as they usually are.
No, but it's so bad because we went 13 minutes ranting, and we are just now getting to your takeaways, which we normally do in the first few minutes of the show. That's how bad it was.
Look, that's how bad it was. I mean, you can look at their record.
Hold on.
You can look at what they have done over their last 15 games. What?
Can you top your 3 takeaways from Wednesday? Few. Yabu was great. Really few for the third one. Because that was fantastic. Because, boy, they were lucky to get that one. Instead, they lose this one.
That was as embarrassing as it gets. Just not good enough. And the main culprit is a really, really poor defensive effort.
Yeah,
the Pelicans shoot 49% from the field and 45% from 3. They won all the hustle categories. They beat them in transition, even off makes. They beat them in transition, Devon. They beat them off rebounds in transition. It wasn't just, pick sixes and live ball turnovers. The Sixers just did a terrible job in getting back on defense. I thought their point of attack defense was awful. Everybody not named Caleb Martin, like Kelly Oubre, who again, plays hard in a lot of ways. Yeah. Really nice dunk. It was a very feast or famine game on the wings for the Sixers wings because they made some good plays off ball. They got some steals. They got some dunks.
They got some deflections that led to some other things.
But just in terms of keeping their man in front of them, particularly when the Pelicans would just run a basic pick and roll, get around the screen, they did a really poor job. And then, we love Yabu here. I think he's done a great job with what he has been asked to do all season. But when he plays the 5, he's at his best offensive position because he's allowed to make threes, but he is out of position defensively. He has to battle. He has to win with guile, some tricks. He didn't protect the rim at all in that game. Really struggled with the young kid from Baylor. Got a lot of offensive rebounds against him. It was a disaster. And you mentioned Nick Nurse. I think this is one of the things that has been in my head over the past few days because a lot of people just want to blame one person, one thing. You know, Daryl put a bad roster together. Joel has really not played that many games. Tyrese's playmaking, he has not made the next step. Although tonight, he actually had a really good playmaking game.
One turnover.
I really enjoyed his decision-making. You just can't make a shot for most of the game, unfortunately.
One turnover,
it was definitely
12
one of those
assists.
games, but I loved his decision-making. And, you know, there are some people who will say, I can't judge Nick Nurse until all three players play. And to some extent, I agree with that. And I agree with the idea that it is a players' league primarily, right? You win and lose with your best players and who is available. But my thing with Nick Nurse is you can mitigate the damage a little bit, right? You can win some of these shorthanded games. You can come with a little bit more of a coherent game plan. And I just feel like he has let us down in that regard. Like he has fallen a little bit short. Is it only his fault or even primarily his fault, in my opinion? No, again, I am still very much that it is a players league, that type of guy. But watching him get that technical after the 9-0 run and just like freaking out, I'm just thinking like, man, what are you doing here? Like what purpose are you serving? And it just, I don't know. It's a really frustrating night.
It really was. Really frustrating tonight. Frustrating for all of you, of course, out there in the chat. Sixers lose by 8. Felt like they were down by more than that. They did claw back, as Rich talked about. They tied it up or took the lead at one point. Was it in the third quarter when they came back? But man, it was just shot after shot or play after play. You talk about the defense on the wings. Again, we praise the three wings together and what they do based on what Derek wrote today, allphly.com.
We did the pregame show and we were talking about how well the three wings, Paul George, Kelly Oubre, and Caleb Martin have guarded this year. And they really have guarded pretty well this year. But that's the problem. When they have a stinker defensively, the offense is not good enough to make up for it. So maybe we should have saw it coming. I don't know.
And it was really just CJ and DeJounte that you had to worry about. And in terms of keeping them in front of you and not letting them beat you. And CJ scores 18 points in the first quarter. There was someone in the chat earlier in the pregame show that said that the Sixers are going to lose tonight. Pelicans are going to win. And
they were right.
Yeah, and I apologize for not reading it earlier. I don't remember who it was. I just remember seeing it and what they were saying. It wasn't one of those I'm a hater coming into the chat. It was, no, they're going to lose tonight. And
no, it was a fan who has been scarred and truly felt that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So 1-2 on your 3-game homestand, where there was a real possibility coming off of that road trip, coming off of a very nice rebound type of win over the Brooklyn Nets on, what was that, Saturday, that they beat the Brooklyn Nets. They come back on Monday, looked like they were going to give it to the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns turned it around because, once again, the Sixers don't know how to score. So they don't know how to score. You allow the team to hang around. We saw that once again against the Washington Wizards, 6-win team at that time. Then you have the 7-win team tonight, where back to back to back, you see offensive struggles, defensive struggles, coaching struggles, and a complete team effort in losing these games. 1-2, once again on this homestand. They do have Orlando on the road on Sunday.
Schedule gets hard after that.
And then they're home for a back-to-back. OKC and New York, Tuesday and Wednesday. Rich and I will be here for both of those. Yes, you heard me. New York. I decided not to go to the game just because Kale is back now on the East Coast. I can make my way up to New York a few times, so I don't always have to get to the games here at the center when he's here. But the way they're playing, it makes me just want to go and watch him play instead of working, because at that point, I'm just going to go see my cousin hoop and see how he plays that night. And you know what I mean? But again, I can make my time up there in New York to visit him at the Garden. So I'll do that. So I will be here with Rich on Wednesday when they play the Knicks, and Tuesday, of course, when they play the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I bring that up with that schedule simply because
Knicks got smoked by the Thunder tonight, didn't they?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
But when you get smoked by the Thunder, that's okay. They're a really good team.
Because guess what happens?
The Pelicans, not quite as good.
When the get-right team is who? The 76ers. They play them in a few days. You get right by playing the 76ers. Unfortunately,
you ain't lying, man.
That's who the team they are this season. All right, when we come back, we'll get to our Super chats, player of the game. We'll speak to Derek and
We'll
Kyle
talk about the
from
game.
the arena. We'll talk about the game overall. This was a bad one. They lose by 8. Felt like more. A 7-win team came into South Philly and defeated the 76ers by 8. We'll talk about it more when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. And I have to tell you about my good friends from Rothman Orthopedics, my guys, my gals there. I had help from the guys and the gals overall at Rothman Orthopedics, dealing with my knee and my ankle, getting those both repaired. There was no other place for me to go but my good friends at Rothman Orthopedics. And if you're like me and you're a weekend warrior, you feel like you can still get out there and do things, or maybe it just happened. You can just walk down the street and it just happened. Something happens and you need to get checked out. Rothman Orthopedics is the place for you. They specialize in you and me, and you can be just like me if you need to be fixed by the best. And Rothman Orthopedics, they are the best. Their physicians are not only specialized in orthopedics and clinical research, but they are fellowship trained to treat specific areas of the body. And since 1970, their physicians have remained committed to research, innovation, and minimally, I love saying minimally, invasive procedures to get you back to what you specialize in. They're at Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers overall. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country. Over 60,000 of those. I can raise my hand as a participant in being one
testimonial over here.
Test tube, one of their dummies there, right? To get it done and make sure it worked. Well, I'm showing you that it works with Rothman Orthopedics. Rothman Orthopedics, they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today.
And Devon, let's talk about our friends at Golden Nugget Jewelers. While the Sixers are hunting down a ring in 2050, you can too. Chestnut, it is located at Chestnut and 8th in downtown Philly near Jewelers Row, a family-owned and operated business since 1987. If you are getting engaged, our friends at Golden Nugget, they have a wide assortment of rings and wedding bands to fit anyone's style. You can receive a final cleaning and a written appraisal with every engagement ring purpose. Not just wedding jewelry at Golden Nugget either. Any jewelry that you want, you can find watches, diamond necklaces, diamond bracelets, earrings, and more right in Center City, Philly. Go check out Golden Nugget Jewelers. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Head over to goldennuggetjewelers.com to learn more.
Well, you said the basketball team has to wait to 2025, but the football team might
get
theirs in 2025.
And if you want to get your rings, you can go now. You don't have to wait like the Sixers do. You know, it's funny. The chat is talking about how they would blow up the team and, you know, who would be traded. And you know what, guys? I don't blame you. But we're going to talk about the game right now.
Yeah, because I saw one earlier in the chat. I don't remember. I just remember the question was, Devon, would you start a team franchise if you were starting over with Maxey or Banchero? That's easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Banchero's really good.
Yeah. Oh, it was our buddy Neil Deaver asking if are you taking Banchero or Maxey? Oh, yeah. That's easy. I'll take Banchero. Yeah. Neil, what about you? Let us know in the chat, Neil, what you would say. But I would definitely take Banchero over Maxey to start a franchise. And already, they've done that with the Orlando Magic, and it has paid dividends.
So to mention Tyrese Maxey, because he's obviously been a hot topic all year. There's been a lot of arguments over, you know, it's like I was talking about earlier. How much blame do you assign to each individual person? There are people who are disappointed with Maxey and people saying, well, it's not just his fault, you know, or he's at least out there every night. We've tried to put that in the proper context, right, where he's been in a tough situation, but he has been disappointing at times. I got to say, man, I thought as a floor general, as a point guard tonight, I thought he was excellent.
Throw the graphic up, Bree.
Let's do it right now.
Throw the graphic up, Bree, to talk a little positivity.
Player of the game, Tyrese Maxey. Now, the scoring, he got all the way up to 30 points. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, you know, late three. That three, when he made it, you were like, all right, man.
Yeah, the late three.
Yeah.
So
that was after CJ made that long corner two.
Yeah.
That gave him 38. And Maxey came down and knocked down that 3, and you were like, all right, come on, man. Let's just get ready to start the post-game show.
So he shoots 2 of 9 from 3 on the game. And he did not shoot it well. In fact, and I think we could probably find the tweet at some point, there was one possession where he shot 2 air balls in a row. And I think a big talking point has been
that was our WTF moment of the night.
It definitely was. We're running through everything.
All of, by the way, they're all brought to you by no one. Even though, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. So maybe it's brought to you by Bet365 there. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Good, I jumped the gun on
that. No, it's all good.
But I'm looking at Maxey's stat line right now. He shoots 8 of 12 from 2-point range. Very good. A lot of good decisions on when to attack the rim. There were a couple of those, too, where he actually missed the layup, but I thought the decision was good. Just missed the shot, right?
The one that was like burst to the basket,
the righty runner,
and it went off. Yeah.
And of course, that was a 5-point swing because that was what happened all night. They miss a shot. The Pelicans go down and make a 3 on the other end. Devon, he finishes with 12 assists to 1 turnover. And of course, that turnover ended up being a pick 6 because every mistake the Sixers made tonight was getting put in their basket on the other end. But I thought the way he handled the Pelicans defense, particularly when Yabu and him would run that pick and pop, whether it was to pass it to Yabu, whether it was to snake the pick and roll and get a good jump shot, whether they sent extra bodies and he drove baseline, nice kick to Oubre for a 3. I was really impressed with his game, his decision-making for a lot of this one. Most of the issues were on defense, as Bree has the video of him bricking 2 threes. This really was a Maxey can't shoot game.
And this is courtesy of that Twitter account that's not Sports Center, it's Bricks Center.
What a life. Is it Airball Center too? I don't know what is going on with his jump shot because
I don't know.
I mean, him missing left and then it looked like he was missed right and short on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like one of those, I used to laugh at I don't know why this guy sticks out to me, but I remember when Jeremy Lin would come to the Wells Fargo Center, well after the Linsanity era, but still a good player, but not like the prettiest jump shooter in the world. And do you remember he shot like a really high ball? It was way up there in the air. So sometimes when he would miss, you would see it out of his hand and you'd be like, oh man, is that going to hit the side of the backboard? Like what's going on? Tyrese Maxey, I have never thought that, but on that 1-3 from the right wing, which you have the perfect angle for on the TV camera, to just see that ball go left. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that jump shot right now. But anyway, there's been a lot of kind of discussion over, has he actually been playing better? Is it just that his 3-point shooting hasn't been good? I thought tonight it was just that his 3-point shooting wasn't good.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, when you look at
he played well.
When you look at the stats, as you pointed out, it's the 3-point misses. Everything else on the 2-pointers, he was pretty good. He had the one you talked about that was a miss. He had another one where he was going really fast. Looked like he was going to have a pretty good angle. He talks about the levels that he likes to get the ball off the glass and bank it in. And it missed pretty badly. And then they went the other way again for another transition opportunity. He's out of bounds. Remember, we were talking about this in the moment of he's going so fast. He misses the shot. He's in the third row. They go down the other end and they
Those
score.
are my least favorite.
So those are the only ones that we can complain about. But I think at some point with the way the season is playing out, Rich, and maybe this is a conversation all 4 of us will have. Maybe it's a conversation you and I have after another poor night where we just talk about him, Maxey, and how things have been with him for the season, how they should move forward with him for the season. And then, of course, if it gets so bad and they shut Joel Embiid down or something along those lines, we really will get a long runway again of Tyrese Maxey for the season where it's really his basketball team and see how he does and see how he handles that. This would be the first time he's really had a losing season in the NBA. So we will discuss that. But
he shot 8 free throws tonight, too.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. He shot
good decision
and made all 8, where we've been complaining about them missing free throws. He made all 8. So in general, tonight he played well. Normally when he has those types of games where he's starting to try to facilitate and he's passing up shots to get others, and I'm looking at the game and I'm saying, yo, I don't need you to do that right now. I need you to score. But part of the development that we discussed in the beginning of the season was his development as a point guard, as a facilitator, as someone who's looking to be a distributor and get others involved. So I can't be too picky when he's doing probably what they've asked of him, including Nick Nurse, which we've talked about. And same thing from Daryl Morey, where they wanted to see him again as a growing facilitator, a growing distributor. He is doing that. So I can't complain about what he did tonight. And I can't really complain all the time about when he's passing up shots. And I mean, quite frankly, a lot of times they're missing them. And it's not his fault on the back end where it was probably a good pass. And we're saying, yo, man, you should have just shot that one yourself because you see what the result is. But he's being a team player. And I mean, but I will say this too. I will say this too, even though we're talking about him positively. And Neil said it there in the chat about him being a number 2. We've seen that. We've said that multiple times. So we already know he's a 1A or a 2, whatever you want to call him, behind Joel Embiid. He fits very nicely with Joel Embiid. He really does. We've seen enough of it to say so. Embiid has to be healthy, though, in order for that to work. Yeah. And you also need Paul George to play a little bit better for the trio of them to work. So nothing to complain about with Maxey tonight. No. He was the player of the game for a reason. This team, though, I mean, this team in the season is really taking a nosedive after the really good December to give us hope and give us some feeling that they were going to be pretty good and deciding how they're going to go about attacking the trade deadline. That might change very quickly here soon with the amount of games that are left in the month of January going into that trade deadline.
It certainly might be hard to be a buyer. Like maybe you're not an outright seller, but yeah, things are going to have to turn around pretty quickly. Okay, so we talked about Maxey again tonight. Like I don't know what's going on with his shot. I don't know if he lifted too many weights in the offseason. You know, there's so many half-baked theories out there that I'm probably not even going to say on the air. You know the ones I'm thinking of right now. Yep. But whatever it is, he's just not making shots. He's not really even looking for those threes off the pick and roll. Like last year, you could just set him a high ball screen, and I'm not saying he would have made like a great pass, but teams would have been scared. Like they would have had the big man coming out way beyond the 3-point line. The Pelicans didn't really have to do that tonight. Now, I thought he made some great plays to counter it too. But, you know, like his game needs the threat of that shooting to open up everything else for him. Okay.
My favorite play, before you get to your next point, my favorite play of Maxey's tonight when, as you said, just running at the defense and doing what he did. First quarter, Sixers lost the first quarter by 4, so it was 28-24, still in the game. But he had a play where he was on the left side, and somehow he found his way to the middle of the floor. He rejected passing the basketball to the wing to Yabusele, who was wide open. He did not pass it to him. Maxey is like in the middle, kind of on an island by himself, trying to figure out where he needs to go. And Maxey just kept his dribble. Normally when we talk about probing, we talk about going along the baseline and probing the baseline to find a way for a pass for a teammate in the corner, spreading it out to the 3-point line somewhere else. That's a good passing angle for a player. But in this particular case, Maxey just snaked his way, if you will, to the middle of the floor and then found his way to the other side, the right side of the free throw line. So free throw line extended, saw that he was wide open because Maxey still didn't really know what he was doing. Yeah. And he hit a nice little jumper there.
Under control.
And that was a really good play after we've talked so much about, you mentioned it just 30 seconds ago, the counter. And that is the mid-range game of the counter on that play. That was a really smart basketball play from a really smart basketball player that needs to get some shots to go and to get him going. And I thought that was one that was really going to get him going. Unfortunately, while he did have an inside the 3-point range, those types of shots didn't have it for him, the outside. If he was hitting his outside shot, they probably win because he took 12 of them.
He would have had a monster
night. You think he would have
man.
Probably had 5 or 6 threes overall, right?
That's like a 45-point.
Exactly. He's matching CJ.
Game. Yeah.
Right, yeah, he's matching CJ. And then you get the 25 from Paul George. You get the 21 from Kelly Oubre. That's enough. Yeah. But so we're not blaming Max. It's just that he had 30 had 30 and 12, and he just couldn't make his threes tonight.
Well, that shot you brought up, I'm happy you brought it up too, because, you know, I talked the other night about how a lot of his threes that have missed in past games, I think they're too hard, the shots. I think the side steps, it's a very high degree of difficulty.
Because he's fading.
That was the complete opposite. I mean, he was way under control, just like an easy little free throw jumper. Barely even had to jump. He created so much space on that. So that was good. I liked how he played. All right, let's get to Paul George, because that was a weird game from him.
Very. Very.
So the first half, there is a possession in the second quarter. I did not even at the time realize that he had 2 fouls, but he gets the ball on offense and he tries to attack. Was it Robinson Earl? Was that who it was? It was a big man on the Pelicans. He tried to attack that person off the dribble.
Yep.
And got absolutely stoned and threw up some complete garbage. He started to complain with the refs. I don't really think it was a foul. Like, I just didn't think he did a good job getting past the guy. Now, I will say the refs, they allowed a lot of physicality, a lot of hand checking tonight. Sixers probably should have done a little bit more of that at their initial pickup points for the most part. But anyway, so Paul George is complaining to the ref, and then he just commits a very silly foul in transition. That is his 3rd foul, and this is a guy who has been in foul trouble, it seems like, for the last 3 weeks consistently.
And you could see 3 seconds before that he wanted to take that same foul. But in today's NBA, you do that, that's a take foul. That's a free throw right there for...
He was lucky it wasn't a take foul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So you're lucky he waited. But you're right, man. That was bad. And
so Nick Nurse sits him down, and
3 fouls.
We can talk about whether he should have sat him down. Like, look, the guy is just committing fouls at an alarming rate. So I at least understand it if I don't disagree with it. And here is the ensuing lineup that played a few minutes. Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
Jeff Doughton.
Yep.
Eric Gordon. Caleb Martin. Gershon Yabusele. PG, they need you out there, man. Like, they don't have enough good players for you to be sat down for foul trouble when you're committing needless fouls. And it's a huge reason they went into halftime down 6 because they had to tread water with those guys. It was a really bad play.
It was a really bad play. Really bad decision by a player. You're supposed to believe that he's going to keep his head in the game. When you know you're already shorthanded playing against a 7-win team, Tyrese Maxey was already struggling shooting. So you need to help pick up some of that slack there.
So was he. He was like 1 of 6. Like, he left the first half 1 of 6 from the field. He had 7 boards.
7 boards, 3 fouls.
You know, he was
1
decent.
assist.
I mean, the boards are the function of who he guards. He guards basically power forwards on the other team.
So you expect him, you expect whoever is normally doing that to rebound. Not everyone does. He does.
So he rebounds. Now, he gave up a decent amount too. Like, he was part of the poor rebounding effort tonight. He made some plays, but I will say he gave some of those back. And look, and then he comes back in the second half when they were down like 10 points, and they could have lost by 35 with the way they were playing defense. They were giving up buckets on every possession.
So he had 10 in the third.
He was awesome. It was like his best offensive stretch I've seen from him since...
And then he had 13 in the fourth.
I guess since the Sacramento game.
Sure.
Probably like the first 3 quarters. He was awesome. It just felt like it was a little too late, right?
Yep.
You wish you got a little bit of that at the beginning of the game to keep the game closer. And by that point, the defense was just horrendous. But, you know, he was matching them with buckets. It just wasn't enough. So it was a weird night for him.
Really was. Really was. Weird night for him. Weird night for everybody having to deal with it. F. Chilaxon says, I trade PG for a crumble cookie.
Oh, no.
Well,
crumble cookies are good. Aren't they pretty good? No. All right.
Yeah, they're good.
All right. So one person says they're good. One person says they're bad.
But if you want to sponsor us or, you know, the WTF moment of the night crumble cookie, come on board. Come on board. We like you.
We could think of a
cookie.
segment, how the cookie crumbles, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We can absolutely do that. But we also probably have to give out some positives for it too. Like, we love this particular one, so we go with that flavor of cookie. All right, we got to take a break. We come back. We'll check in with the guys from the arena. Bree is laughing at us. She wants a crumble cookie. And 12 and his father are laughing in Detroit because of how things are playing, especially with Paul George playing the way that he is playing. We'll come back. We'll get to it all right here. We'll continue the conversation, your super chats, right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365.
Devon, we got a big football game this weekend, buddy.
That matters.
We had a bad basketball game this weekend, but we got a big football game. It is the hottest ticket in town, Eagles-Packers. And if you wanted to attend, where would you go? Game Time.
Game Time.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. And there are a ton of great features at the Game Time app. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front, so you have no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views. You can get a panoramic look at where you will be sitting, so you are not surprised when you go to the game. Game Time has the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app to create an account and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Download Game Time today. Devon, what time is it?
Game time. Boom. All right. By the way, the guys are kind enough to let me go to the game on Sunday.
Let's go.
Game time. Game time. Yeah. And Bree said I could go too. So, you know, got to speak to the team and make sure I'm allowed to go. So I'll be there on Sunday. And with that, you know, we sit here and talk about now some Ace Hardware home services in general, because if you are unable to go to the game and you're at home and, you know, you turn the TV down, you don't want to hear Tom Brady calling the game. You're like, he stinks.
I don't want to hear him.
All right, you might hear some things going on in the house, and you're like, wait a minute, I need to get that fixed. I might get that. You got a leaky pipe, you know, Ace Hardware home services right around the block with everything you need to fix, and including the person to do the fixing. So if you have issues there, maybe you have some HVAC issues as well, got a person for that. How about a leaky faucet in general, where you said you fixed that one last fall? Well, you didn't. We got the person for that. Ace Hardware does. And because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful service folks as well. From plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming a year long. And it's cold right now. Ace Hardware Services, we're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door. And with Ace overall, a wide range of residential maintenance, installation, home repair services are available, including, as we mentioned, plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. Free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. Emergency services available when you need them most. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get your house and your next project started. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show. That would be presented by Bet365, hanging out with us here, Bet365. So Yabu let me down on the Bet365 tonight. He only took 1 3. It was the early one.
It's even more disappointing.
I know, right?
The Yabu threes parlay didn't work.
Man, Maxey covered. He got the 25 plus, but Yabu Selly let us down on the back end. But hey, you know, it is what it is. That's the kind of night it was for the team overall. Bree, let's get to a few of the super chats that we do have here. Check in with the game. Claude says,
Claude Debussy.
I hate this team so much. Fire more yesterday.
Big Eagles chatter, Claude. Yeah.
Well, welcome, Claude.
I get it, Claude.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate your chat. I think a lot of people in the chat have echoed your sentiments, but because you paid the $2, those are all yours now.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Claude.
We got Skunk in here. Skunk Riley, our good friend, starting with the haiku.
Love Skunk.
Yeah. You want to read the haiku? Go with the haiku. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
All right. Friday night haiku from, Skunk Riley. By George, I hate you. Why do good players suck? You know what? And when they join this team.
That's well written, Skunk. Are the syllables correct? I didn't even count.
Thanks. Yeah. Yep.
Little 575.
Yeah. And Bree is counting. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Nice.
Friday night haiku by George. I hate you, right? Why do good players suck? You know what? And when they join this team. That's the question from Skunk Riley with the great haiku tonight. We appreciate it, Skunk. I don't know why it always seems to happen when they come to Philadelphia. I mean, look, this basketball team, though, in general, they've had players come into town, and they've still been good over the last 7-8 years. It goes to every sport, Skunk, so I know exactly what you're saying, but Paul George now jumping in here, and it's not looking good. He follows up with another super chat. We need to tank for that 7'10" the hoser from Quebec that plays at Florida. The dude, what's his name?
I just looked it up. Olivier Roux.
Yeah, so he's really, really at the beginning of the season for Florida.
Is he actually playing? I'm not paying attention to this.
I don't know. But the one was he went out for his pregame kind of workout, and you do the left hand, right hand layup drill on each side.
Little mic and drill.
Yeah, the little mic and drill, right hand, left hand. They showed that where, of course, he's not jumping off the floor because he's that tall, and I don't know what he's doing. I mean, maybe he's redshirting. Seems like he should be a kid that because he's so big. I did see high school highlights. Not that skilled overall, but of course, look how tall he is. So he's a project. He seems like a guy that I would think that they would probably want to redshirt, get him going.
It seems like they're doing that because he hasn't played yet this year.
And he's redshirting it. Yeah, he's definitely redshirting. All right, we'll get to Bernard Super Chat on the other side, but we're going to head to the arena right now and check in with the guys who had to endure that mess in person. And that is our team, Kyle Neubeck, hanging out with us. And the man, shaking his head. He is with us. Derek Bodner. Kyle, I don't know. That was bad, man.
Disgrace. Absolute disgrace. As Derek was sitting here looking at the box score, he goes, 70 points in the second half to that team? You gave up that many points? That defies all belief. I mean, good Paul George offensive second half, but he was 1 for 6, 3 fouls in the first half, had basically no idea what he was doing on either end of the floor. They were disconnected against a team that shouldn't be able to disconnect you on defense. I don't know what's happening there. Jose Alvarado, who I like quite a bit, looked like mini Magic Johnson for parts of that game. So I don't know how that's possible. It should be a guy who, while he's going to make a defensive impact, isn't out there tearing you apart offensively. It's just, I don't know if you guys have, had a debate about this, but like, to me, that's the worst loss of the season. And I know they've had some bad ones early. The loss to Toronto was bad. Frankly, I think that loss to Phoenix early this week was pretty bad in the circumstances, with Phoenix showing up looking like they were about to quit on each other in the season. But then tonight, Herb Jones gets ruled out for a significant amount of time, and it's like, oh, they don't have to deal with him. And then 2 hours before the game, the Pelicans suspend Zion Williamson. It's like, oh boy, that should make this one a layup, right? They should be going into halftime in cruise control, and maybe they give the lead back. In fact, certainly they would give the lead back. But they never had the lead at halftime. They were losing to these guys at halftime before they played even worse in the second half. Just a gutless, disgraceful performance from this group.
Did they have?
Derek, do you have any thoughts you want to add in there?
Let Derek preamble. Just let Derek rant.
He's got a whole week of thoughts to share with us.
Yeah, we gave him the night off the other day.
Yeah.
Now look, Kyle is a professional journalist, but he did get that quote slightly wrong. But we will clean it up for some of our partners don't want exactly what I said, but it was 70 gosh darn points is the way I will try it. Because this Pelicans team had a 28th ranked offense. They were missing, obviously Zion, Ingram, Herb, Trey Murphy, and they gave up like a 126 offensive rating to this group of talent is just an abomination. And it only happens that way if your communication's not there, if your effort is lackluster, and if you're not playing as a team. And that lane was so wide open the entire second half. And look, we can focus on Paul George and the 1 for whatever he shot in the first half, and Tyrese Maxey, who I think missed his first 7 threes, 2 of them in a row that were air balls and not even close. And they were open, clean looks. And he was, I tweeted that he looked like he was shooting cross-eyed. We can focus on that. That defense in the second half was an absolute disgrace. And when you're sitting here and you've got to claw out every win because you've got a real tough schedule, including 5 sets of back-to-backs here over the next month, to come away with that kind of an effort, it's one thing to lose because the shot's not going in. I can accept that. That effort stunk, and it was embarrassing, and it can't happen for a team that has to make up a lot of ground.
It kind of hit me that this team is so screwed because their offense is normally so bad that when they have a stinker defensively, like, they have no shot. And obviously PG was excellent basically when they were down 10 points the entire second half. Kyle, did they say anything about why they suck defensively? Like, did Nurse point out, this specific thing was killing us. Like, I mean, he could have just said like, we're not keeping the ball in front of us. Like that probably would work too.
Yeah, I mean, this was a question that was given to several different people. Kelly Oubre in the locker room just now was like, the effort just wasn't there. We didn't play hard enough like that. And he was visibly upset, said, we've lost other games, right? And not happy with those either, but this is one that stings more, that, you want to rebound from, because I think generally the effort has been good, right? Like it's one thing, again, as everyone is saying in unison right now, it's one thing to miss shots. It's one thing to just like have that type of game and that type of loss where you're bought in, you're playing hard, you're scrambling, you're scratching and clawing with an undermanned roster, and you just lose because you can't make shots. To lose in this situation where you should have been, Paul George mentioned like every game's got to be a desperation game. Every game's needed to be a desperation game for like the last month and a half, right? And for most of December, you were getting that type of energy. You were getting that type of effort. And so, they said the effort was a problem, but then it was, schematically, they're dealing with issues with, if they're switching, who's communicating, who's going to be where. They're still dealing with issues in terms of, and that's like basic stuff, right? Just knowing where guys are going to be, knowing when, okay, this guy gets screened or this action is run, this is where I'm going to get to, or this is where I need to get to. That's what they said was one of the big problems. On top of that, they're bad at the point of attack, and they were bad in the paint. So, aside from that, other than every single part of defense, they were fine. Yeah, and then like couldn't play zone, and Yabu was struggling at one point. So then they go small, and it's Paul George at center, and that doesn't work. And it's, Adem comes in, and he's fouling like crazy, and Messi is just all over the place, tipping balls and drawing attention, and it was like 15 different problems. So I wish I could say, hey, it was this exact thing, and that's why it all fell apart. But it was everything, and that was the message that they gave when we talked to them after the game.
Other than that, how was the defense, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yeah, pretty much. And Kyle, you guys said it right at the top that the debate about was this the worst loss of the season. We agreed with it. I just framed it differently, Derek, to Rich when we started, which was this was the one that finally made me feel like, all right, there's no way to tie up your bootstraps and get out of the mud in this one. This is they're digging themselves too much of a hole, even after a loss like this. We've seen the losses as they've talked about, but this was the one that was like, okay, yeah, this team has no shot this season.
Yeah, it really was like.
Derek's having technical issues.
I missed the click. All right, I missed the mute button. Sue me. All right. There was a little bit of a miscommunication between me and the mute button. It's the story of the night.
Yeah.
No, this was a team that came off of. I know they beat the Wizards, but that was a really bad showing, and to come out with an even worse one after a day off, it was just like this. I'm not even going to say that. This is the kind of loss that shows that a team has given up, or at least momentarily is not playing with the kind of effort and attention that's required to win consistently. And for them to be this far into the season and have no game plan on how to win games without Joel Embiid and no real understanding of how frequently he's going to be in the lineup going forward. Look, we can sit here and rattle off, they've won, I think, 7 of their last 9 with Joel when he finishes a game or whatever. Who cares? Who cares?
Hyper specific.
I wrote about it earlier today. What do you want? All right, go allphly.com. You can read about that. But it doesn't matter if the people that are on the court are so drastically underachieving so consistently, and the guy that you're building everything around is so uncertain. And for that, it boggles my mind how much time we spent in the preseason talking about this is a team almost tailor-made to try to be more competitive without Joel Embiid. And look, I understand Andre Drummond hasn't been available. He wasn't all that good for most of the season, even when he was. But to have put in all those resources and still just fundamentally have no clue how to win a game when Joel is out, it's infuriating. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that. I just, this idea that now is the time that they should be desperate.
Bingo.
I don't understand why desperation didn't set in 2 months ago at this point, right? Like, well, not 2 months ago. That's basically the start of the season, but a month and a half ago, whenever it would be, because this is a team that came into the season. I mean, and it starts at the top, right, with Joel and Paul and Tyrese, but also these role players that they brought in. These are not guys that came here to be on, as far as I know, that they all spoke of, the goal is a title, right? Like, we believe we have the talent. We believe we have the depth, the coach, the front office, the assets to make trades, whatever it is. The message was across the board, that's the vision line, right? That's what we're competing for. And if you believe that, if you actually genuinely believe that in your heart of hearts, then that means you need to look at the standings in December and say, we are in big trouble if we don't start winning a lot of games soon and a lot of games the rest of the year, right? And so that requires a level of precision and focus and determination that this team has not shown close to enough. I get, like, defensively, generally, they've been pretty good, right? Not elite, but pretty good. The offense has sucked, and it's, we've been waiting for that to come. We're probably going to keep waiting. But once you see the bottom drop out like that defensively, I agree with you, Devon. When you come off of a performance like that against Washington, who's horrible, worst team in the league, should have been a wake-up call, should have been a look in the mirror and say, we need to come out and kick the hell out of these guys from New Orleans, right? Especially when Zion goes down. That's a game you could come out, play one good quarter, and the game's over, right? Because New Orleans, they came into the game 7-30. That's a team that will lay down if you just hit them with a haymaker early on, and they are just not a serious enough team. They do not have the mindset to come out like that, where it's like, we can step on these guys' necks and end this now. And it just adds on to what I've been saying on this show over and over again this year. They do not have the approach or the mentality of a serious team, or a team that has any chance to do anything in the playoffs, if they can even get there at this point, right? Like, we're almost halfway through the year. We can officially start saying, like, or stop treating the playoffs as this foregone conclusion based on where they're at and where they're headed.
Yep. Well, listen, guys. Yeah, that was a tough one. That was a rough one. That was an ugly one, a really, really ugly one. And for that, you guys need to get out of there. You had to endure too much of that. Now we're talking about it. Get out of there. And,
get out of there. Go home.
And they have a Sunday game. I mean, come on. Right? So,
Devon, I'm happy. I am happy for one of us that you will be at the game and not, having to deal with Sixers magic. Derek and I will hold down the fort. I will note I got offered tickets to the game that I turned down because you were already going, because I was not going to try to bribe Rich into covering for me, because I know he wants to watch the other game too. So, fellas, go Birds. Derek and I will hold it down Sunday. Get home safe tonight.
Well, I'll see.
Derek's got one last thing.
Oh,
I mean, look, Kyle, if we're being honest, nobody's watching our post game anyway. If you want to go, I can just do an hour by myself. I'll give it a shot. Nobody's going to be watching. I don't want you to miss that game.
I could jump in on Ecamm from the stadium. I could do that.
Don't you dare. Derek and I hold it down. All right, fellas. We'll catch you later.
Get home safe. See you guys Monday. Thanks, man. Kyle Neubeck, Derek Bodner. Make sure you read them at allphly.com. And they'll be with you beginning at 5:30 for the pregame for the Orlando Magic. Please jump in and check in. That's right. Road to victory. Jump in, please, and check. I'm not begging. I mean, you guys will be there anyway because you do support our show, and we appreciate it. Jump in for the pregame, 5:30. Derek and Kyle and Bree, and just getting ready for the Sixers and Magic as Rich
game
said,
on Sunday.
Paolo had 30+ in his game, his return. I think was this the second game back? I think it was the second game back.
I don't know, but
was it this first? Okay.
He had a nice looking box score tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about him. Not worried about him at all. And make sure you also go sign up to become a diehard member so you can read those stories from Kyle and Derek that we referenced in the pregame. The shirt
free.
Right there.
Not for free. You have to pay for the diehard subscription, but you get this complimentary one a year.
Absolutely. Just as easy. Diehard. And I think I was on our website, And it said, and I got the email because we still get our emails from our company. And it said, limited, you got time left to sign up at a discounted price. Yep. So go on in there, diehard member. You get the shirt. You have an option for that in the merch page. Look at the hat. Check it. Check me. Check the hat. Check it. Right? Check the hat. And the whole bunch of stuff there that you would find necessary, especially when you go into a football game. You need a, as they say on the page, a beanie. Of course, I call it a Scully. If you need one of those, you can wear that to the game as well, courtesy of PHLY or PHLY.com, and go there. So you want to know what I was doing? Because I saw you peeking over here at one point because I was typing some stuff. You know what I did, Rich? Look what I did.
Oh no!
Look at what I did.
I think you got to show the people what they'll know. They'll know what that background
You know
is.
the screen. You know what the screen looks like. You know what the screen looks like.
How'd you do?
Tankathon. I didn't even have to do anything because the first thing that popped up was they are 8th. And what are they, top 6 protected?
That's not going to do it.
That's not going to do it. Tankathon already. Checking it out to see exactly where the 76ers are. I'll do one sim lottery right here and see what we get. And we get the 76th, fourth overall.
Pick. Oh,
look at that.
Baby.
Oh,
that Illinois kid.
Welcome
to Philly.
Look at that. Oh, yeah. Daryl, we got you covered, my man. 4th overall.
Ace Bailey, welcome to Philly.
Somebody.
Yeah, I don't even know who it is. But
Rich, tonight, damn. Just one of those. Just one of those.
But we made it through. We made it through with the help of our friends in the chat. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah. And before we get to Bernard here, Bree, real fast, I just wanted to say, just Kyle tailing off of what we were talking about earlier, and I brought it up to them, which was AA Ron says, OKC, enjoy the lottery pick. We got in the top 4 in this sim lottery, AA Ron, so you get to keep it. Don't worry. You get pick number 4.
Tankathon's got you.
You got you covered. So it was just, as I didn't say it this way, you said it a little bit earlier, that after that Wizards game on Wednesday, and you come into this one, you should put your foot on the gas pedal and never let up.
Yeah.
And not make the mistakes that Paul George made by picking up his 3rd foul, which was a foolish play at that point. And Pelicans leading, you're going back and forth. That kind of showed us who they are a little bit, at least 35 games in right now. Unfortunately, that this is, or 36 games, that this is the team that they are right now, that we keep expecting them to do something and asking them to do something. They did it for a good stretch, and then they revert back to this. Now, Embiid hasn't played in these last 2, but they're reverting back to the stuff that we saw early, and they're too deep in the hole. Like we said, we keep saying they're not good enough. So when they're not good enough, they are not able to pick up these types of unfortunate losses, give us these types of performances. Kelly Oubre upset in the locker room because of their lack of effort.
See, that's a bad sign.
That is really bad.
Once somebody starts blaming the effort, that's how you know whether it was the effort or whether it was the execution or whether it's the talent, whatever it is. When people start blaming effort, that generally means this thing is heading in the exact wrong direction.
Yes.
Now, hopefully it can change, but when you've run out of things to point to and you're pointing to the effort, that's bad. And I think to your point, Kyle said it well. Like, we don't usually hammer their effort. I think this is the first time in a couple months I've said, I've destroyed their execution for the better part of 2 months, but not really their effort. But I do think in a larger point than the effort, because of what you said, they should have come out tonight ready to go. They should have said, like I put in my observations the other night, rebounded and played a much better game tonight. Kyle put it well. This is not a serious basketball team right now. They're just not in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to Bernard and his super chat. Then I want to throw something that Vince had put up there in the chat earlier. But Bernard's super chat says Maxey needs to shoot better from 3, which we referenced a little bit earlier. But Oubre and Caleb's, perimeter defense was horrible along with their offense. When Maxey lets them cook, they can't.
So, Bernard, I actually thought Oubre's defense was a good bit worse than Caleb's tonight. And now maybe I'm focusing a little bit too much on the first half, but when Oubre guarded CJ McCollum, he was like getting turned around. There were a couple of possessions where Oubre was on spin cycle, trying to stay in front of him, try and chase him around, multiple dribble handoffs, multiple actions. I thought when Caleb Martin guarded him for the most part, now, maybe I go back and I look at the NBA.com matchup numbers and they say differently, but it felt like Caleb made CJ work a little bit harder, and CJ got sped up a few times and he missed some shots against Caleb. I mean, you see it when they have multiple options. The other team has multiple good options that on the wing that can score. Caleb is the guy who probably should get the best option. Now, PG never plays that player. He always
is between those two. Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, he's always kind of being a roamer, a helper, that type of thing. And he does some good stuff for sure. Like he gets in the passing lanes. But there are times where I'm thinking like, it would be nice if you could chase this guy around for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Doesn't really happen all that
Jeannie
much.
says, I said CJ had them in a blender.
He did.
We said it, all three of us, we referenced it during the game, Jeannie, where we said that, wow, this is a vintage CJ McCollum looking guy early on in the game. Rich was like, oh, he's going to go off. I'm like, yeah, he'll probably go off for a decent number. Rich was right. I mean, he ended up with 38, probably should have had 40. And he was fantastic, and they could not stop him. He had a 50-point game, last week as well, and here he is. He bounces back with a 38. This is a guy, had they been in the spot, Rich, that we thought they would be. Right now, their record is the 76ers at 15-21. Let's say they are 26 and, 26-12 at this point, right? Let's say they're 26-12. We're probably sitting there saying, this team stinks, the Pelicans. Do you take a swing at CJ McCollum to put him in the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey? Just from those types of performances, at least just the conversation because of how he's playing, of as we are throwing different names out there, that we go and we talk about a player that is scoring the basketball in that way. The fit we know doesn't work. It's just more of the conversation of a player that's playing well, getting out of that spot that he's in. This is a guy that, all right, Sixers don't get him, but do the Cleveland Cavaliers go at him, or do the Boston Celtics or do the Knicks go at him? Should the Sixers get in the mix to keep him away from that kind of conversation, because so many have talked about, CJ is not the same player, but number one, at the beginning of the season, he was injured.
Yeah.
And whenever he's out there and they're all out there, he seems like the stabilizing force as that veteran that we know that he can be. So
he's playing really well.
He is.
So I would not do that just because I think the fit is pretty disastrous with Maxey.
Yeah.
But he's having a very nice offensive season, and I think you would agree with me. When he is cooking and he's using all those ball fakes and those cuts,
that misdirection stuff,
that dude is a professional scorer. So I would not trade for him, but I do appreciate CJ.
Yeah. Vince had said earlier in the chat when we were talking about Maxey and discussing where he was good, but when he had, some of those moments where we were like, come on, man. Vince said it was Maxey lost me when he's jumping around, stopping playing while the play was still going on, when he thought it was a backcourt. So you referenced that earlier.
No, but that was a different one.
No, I was saying you were referencing earlier the first one with Nurse.
Second one was
and then
Maxey.
The second one with Maxey. You brought up both of those. And we were sitting there like, dude, you still got to get into the play. What are you doing? But he lost Vince on that one. I'm sure he lost a lot of other people, because we've seen some of those theatrics from him this year with the non-foul calls that he believes he's deserving of, and some frustrations when things are not happening the way that he feels it should while on the floor. And look, man, they're losing. So you're bound to, even with the best guys, you're bound to get some different stuff when you start taking some L's on the chin a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, all right, look. I think we ran through everything, right? Ricky was good.
Ricky had a good stretch in the second quarter.
Ricky was good. Yeah, he had that 9-point stretch. You just say he scored like 6 in a row, 7 in a row?
This game could have gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
And Ricky kept it somewhat close.
Yep. Yeah, he did. He tried. And then he didn't get many more minutes after that. But he had to early because Paul George was in that foul trouble. So, but he made the most.
I think he earned a.
Go get him, Rick.
I think he earned it.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. He did earn one of those. All right. That'll get ready to do it for us. We have to get to our roll call, world famous roll call, to close out the show after a disappointing loss. Unfortunately, got a lot of people to thank. Holy cannoli. What up, Holy Cannoli? Thank you. Maurice Yams is back as always. Good to see Maurice Yams in there. T. Harris. We see T. Harris in there. You said Chima. Chima comes early. I saw Chima earlier, I think, in the pregame, but Chima's with us as well. Mellow 3-point. Darkness. Starting to get dark in that arena, man.
Yes, it is.
It really is. Hanging out with us. Tobias Crumble Harris is in the chat and said earlier, see, you guys, you let me go a little bit too early. And here, this is what you get. Hey, Aaron, what up, Aaron? Jeannie, Winona, hey, ladies, what's happening? Neil Deaver, Vic, Joaquin from Cherry Hill, Sean Camp, what up, Sean? Larry K, Jess, also hanging out with us. See that we had Wawa Marvel, Phi Chi. What up, Phi Chi? MPTR. Checking in a little bit earlier. Prophet One, John, peace. What up, peace? Jack Reacher. I love that movie. Underrated Tom Cruise movie.
Well, it's funny because the character in the books, Jack Reacher, is like a gigantic guy, which if you've
More
seen
of the TV show?
Yeah, the TV show.
Right.
That's what the guy is supposed to look like.
Okay.
But TC just has that aura that he could just play Jack Reacher.
Oh, and he did it perfectly, right? He did it
He's like,
perfectly.
he's like this big.
Exactly, right. But it makes him look tall, and he's got the leather jacket on, so
Yeah.
he's swole. He's all good. Jack Reacher, we love your performance. We love the movie and the TV show and
Never
the
give
book.
up.
No, never give up. What up, Randy? You see Randy in there. Philly 007. Sal. Hey, Sal. We see you in there as well. Vince. What up, Vinny? All the network. X-Man. What up, X? Got to throw it up. Brother Hannibal. I Gavini. What up, I Gavini? And Carlton Hudson hanging out with us as well this evening. Everybody, that one stunk. We didn't like it, but we are here with you nonetheless, and we'll be back as well on Sunday. Derek and Kyle with Bree will have you covered for the pre and the post game for the Sixers and the Orlando Magic. Don't forget about all of our Eagles coverage for the pregame as well. While you're watching the Sixers, turn it on so you can have it there going on. You know, pregame for the Eagles earlier, and then the post game and all kinds of stuff here on PHLY because it's a big game on Sunday. Playoffs.
Big one, baby.
Playoffs. How you feeling?
Nervous as hell.
It's the playoffs, man. You got to be nervous.
Yeah.
Got to be nervous. Going into the conference championship and you're like, yeah, I'm still nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Even at home because it's the playoffs. You're one and done. But a good matchup against the Green Bay where you feel like they should at least prevail. Close game and all. You feel like they should prevail against the Green Bay Packers. Sometimes you hate those second games against the team where you beat them earlier. That's why you get a little nervous against them. But I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to enjoy the game and hope that they come out victorious in that
You'll
one.
be there.
Also, yes, I will be. Also, while we were doing the show, Shams said that the Lakers and I think it was the Lakers, whoever they were playing, I think it might have been the Hornets or somebody, that was postponed yesterday. And the NBA is also postponing the game on Saturday due to the Clippers Hornets. Yes, so it was the Hornets and the Lakers first. Now it's the Lakers Spurs and Clippers Hornets on Saturday due to the ongoing wildfires in Southern California. So as we said during the pregame show, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to everyone
Definitely
dealing with the unbelievable fires that are just ravaging through Southern California right now. So we want to say that, and we just hope for the best for everyone involved out there, even if you have family there as well. So we want to thank our presenting sponsor, of course, Bet365. And make sure when you do check out Bet365, you do sign up. When you sign up, you download the Bet365 app, use code PHLY365 when you do sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know does have a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Don't forget to like and subscribe. When you do, you also hit that bell icon so you can get the alerts of what it sounds like when it's game time here on the PHLY Sixers show. Sounds like that. You get that, and you know it's time to throw the ball up in the air and get things going. For Rich, Kyle, Derek, Bree, myself, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Have a great Saturday and enjoy your Sunday as well. A lot of PHLY coverage on Sunday. We hope you're able to hang out with us all on Sunday for Sixers and Eagles on Sunday afternoon and evening. Have a great rest of everybody's weekend. We'll talk to you then. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.